Hello, good morning. It's morning where I am. Uh, it is July the 14th, 2025 at 8:33 a.m. Eastern Time, USA, New York. Uh, I use New York instead of DC, okay? But they're in the same time zone, apparently. Yeah, so some people have known this and they understand. I, I, I have been doing independent research on my own time and dime for many years because my first experience of you know mysterious things, uh I was very curious about Stonehenge and Easter Island and those kind of things, and I had parents who uh, liked to challenge me to try and explain, trying to read. I read a book called Stonehenge Decoded, and at the time it was seen as like a calendar, uh, but there's something about it. I mean, it is lined up for certain things. Um, so for certain times of year, the sun. Okay, it, what struck me was that there were signs even back in, I guess, the 80s or 70s when this book was written, uh, that it was much bigger, that they had no idea. Stonehenge had other things going on and it was connected to some things. So, technology these days, they can do flyovers and they can look at ground and land. And yes, they have you know, it looks like a lawnmower, sort of, without the blade. Geographic studies of what's underground. So, yeah, they found a ring of old wooden things. Yeah, a lot of people who study the spiritual know that stone means something and wood means something different. But there have been more recently some people who have been allowed to study. They're scientists, and uh, some of them have been taking photos at certain times. And where it used to be a line where you could see the sun, and I believe it was equinoxes. I could be wrong about that, okay? But it definitely lined up with certain times, at least 4 times a year. So equinoxes, they're not lining up. You can only see half the sun from the same spot. They take the photo of the same spot, and they have somebody who took a picture of the yep of the spot of someone who is looking at a camera, same spot. And so they took a bunch of photos over a course of time, and at a certain point, the sun did not align like it used to. And yes, the old faithful has not been faithful, and that's just recently. It went off in a completely like wrong timing. Okay, now Old Faithful has been changing a little bit here and there over the years, right? But this was a major event. So there, and 200 earthquakes over here, and tsunami warnings over there. And I, you know, I cannot deny that I myself have seen some anomalous things. My issue at the time was I didn't have any recording equipment, so it's kind of like you got to take my word for it. So I understand that, right? I probably wouldn't be listened to or taken too seriously because, yeah, I mean, you do have to like try and have some evidence. So uh, I'm grateful for this phone, by the way. I had to pay for the phone, but thanks to the U.S. government, I have a way to talk to my doctors, which is pretty much the only reason I use this, other than to check through some things, scroll through and see uh, what some of the phenomena that is anomalous is being put up on YouTube. So I know to discount some things because I can tell when footage has been, doctored. And I can tell sometimes when people are not being honest when they're talking. So they're being deceptive about something. And it might not be that they are telling a lie about that. They just read that way. And then you can't go off just one read. You have to have at least 3 reads. Okay? So, anyway, I was looking through YouTube like I usually do and certain keywords. Okay? And I found real Kaya. Completely weird. Okay, this is real Kaya, everybody. All right? And they recently put up 6 days ago. Okay, you can hear it. You can hear that's a dog barking. But listen.
It's the middle of June 2025, and the world's creatures are trying to tell us something. In early June, flocks of birds in the US and Europe were seen flying in chaotic, unnatural patterns, crashing into buildings, spiraling straight into the ground. In Japan, thousands of sea creatures washed up with no clear explanation. And in parts of South America, dogs have been howling at empty corners like they're seeing something we can't. Scientists say it could be subtle shifts in the Earth's magnetic field. But others believe animals are sensing something coming.
Yep.
Something we haven't felt
yet.
Have you witnessed your pet acting bizarre lately?
Okay.
Like at this point,
animals are more sensitive to seismic.
The nature, the water creatures are just like, hello.
Yeah, I'm gonna pause you here, but I'm just playing this for you because on this video, you can check it out yourself. I'm trying to hold it up so that you can see. This is her content, and yeah, it's kind of hard to get that to not be blurry, but the title is Nature and Animals Are Acting Strange TikTok Reaction. Okay, and it's real Kaya, REALKY or KIYA. So this one just happened to be put together really well, and it's there's when this video first starts, they're showing like all these like water animals marching down the street in big gigantic flocks. And no one's ever seen anything like that before. Not even animal behaviorists. And I'm college trained in just regular research on animal behaviors. And there's things that have been concerning me for a little while because animals usually know before we do. Okay, they have sensitivities that we don't have, seismic. Okay, but I am going to say this before I continue on. I had a situation. I couldn't sleep, and that happens sometimes. So I know after a while laying in bed, just get up and do something. So I went outside and just took a little walk, and I looked up, and I saw, the full buck moon. All right, now I'm going to close this down, and what I'm going to do is I'm going onto browser, okay, and I am typing in full buck moon, all right, just so that you guys understand what I'm getting at here. Okay, full buck moon. Okay. 3 days ago, 4 days ago, like some saw it on the 12th, some saw it on the 13th, and last night when I looked up, it was cloudy, but it's kind of like sometimes it'll open up and you can see the moon. It was a mostly full moon, if not totally full. Okay? And when I got up this morning, 5 hours later, I looked up in the sky, and the very first thing I noticed was, okay, that's weird. That's not a normal everyday thing. And the way the moon moves, it wouldn't happen that way. So the moon was, clockwise like 2 o'clock. Okay. When I woke up 5 hours later, and it was mostly full. When I woke up 5 hours later, it seemed like it hadn't moved very far. And that was weird in the first place because, I check the sky every night. I watch these things very carefully. And when I looked up this morning, the first thing I noticed, was, that's not a full moon. That's like 3/4 of a moon. I don't know whether it's waxing or waning, but it just isn't possible the way we think of things and the way we see things, that I could have seen an almost full moon and 5 hours later seen a 3/4 moon. Okay, you got to admit that doesn't seem right. Okay, and it was only so, like, I thought the full moon was 2 o'clock. It was only at like 4 o'clock. So it seemed like it only moves a small. Yeah, usually that is not. I'm like, did the Earth stop? What the hell is going on here? Right. I noticed it. It was right off the bat. Just noticed, like, okay, it was full moon, or nearly full moon. You understand? And this morning it's a quarter moon, and it was only 5 hours later. That doesn't make sense the way we know things. But the other thing I noticed was that there were no squirrels. There were no birds on the ground. There were no bunnies hopping around at 6:30 this morning. Usually, you see that activity at 6:30 in the morning. Okay, I mean, I noticed, because we feed the squirrels. I feed the squirrels, right? And usually there's squirrels running around, and there's usually some bunnies hopping around. Nothing. I heard some birds chirping. I heard some crows calling at each other, but I didn't see a single squirrel. I didn't see a single bunny, and those are things that I see every single morning. Okay, it took a little while. Then I did start seeing the animals, but they didn't come after normal time, because usually, I mean, if I go out at 5:30, they're there. Sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night, and yeah, once the light starts, dawn starts, starts getting light, those animals are usually out. Bunnies, squirrels, but there was none until after 7 something. So that's a little off. Right. And I happen to notice these things because if you watch animals, they are sensitive to certain things that we're not, like seismic activity. Yep, they get warnings from various things, like birds will warn the rest of the animals, or right, or horses or cows will do something. And so that was a little weird. I mean, in 5 hours, I looked at an almost full moon, assuming it was the moon. Okay, I didn't see, it was like it was one of those misty, cloudy things, and so I didn't see any of the normal stuff you see in the moon. Okay, but that happens sometimes. Like, yeah, you can't see the specific details, but it was a mostly full moon, and 5 hours later, it was only a 3/4. I mean, that's an anomalous event. So I have made sure now. I didn't get it photographed. I went out. Yeah, I went to get I went to get my phone to start taking pictures, and now I realize I need to take pictures more. Just have pictures. Just randomly start just taking pictures at certain points of the day and see. So I cleared out all my photos, and that's what I'm going to start doing. Is just randomly start taking pictures of the sky around me day and night, and see if another anomaly occurs. Okay. Uh, so it's interesting. But then, the Pacific Rim is at the top now. 200, micro uh, over there. Yeah, California, Mountain Year, Yellowstone, over in that section of the U.S., 200 mini earthquakes. Over here, where we are, okay, the geologists are concerned because I'm on the East Coast. Okay, I live in Maryland, and I'm right near the Atlantic Ocean. Okay, Maryland touches the Atlantic Ocean, so uh, I know somebody is trying to interfere. So just give me a second. All right, it happens sometimes. I mean, I've gotten used to it. You can't really, like, right, because it comes back to me. So I may use it for a hot second, but they're not successful because then just right. I, all right, Alpha Omega. pass them, override. Okay? Anyway, so yes, all over the planet, more and more videos that don't appear to be doctor. You understand? I do try and check them, so some might be. And so when I look at them, I say there's like a 25% chance that this could be a doctor. I put it aside and I don't count it as evidence. Okay, I check to make sure at a certain point. Like if I get enough accumulated, then I check to make sure that from what I can tell and from any processing of it and looking at certain aspects and using a certain software program. Right. So if I can prove that they haven't been doctored, then I put them back in. Okay. But if I can't prove that they haven't, then I just leave them out. You understand? If I can't prove that they are not doctored, I just leave it out of the evidence. Okay. It just gets put aside. That's not evidence right now. Okay. So only if it's verified. Uh, I have felt shifts at an alarming rate myself, and uh, things that do not normally happen on Earth are happening at a more rapid pace. Okay? Because people at this point have had at least good 10 years with smartphones and taking pictures and right and people with video. It's becoming more prevalent that people have a way to record these things. Okay, so I am not a ufologist, but yeah, even I've seen something that didn't seem normal okay, in the sky, which is what kind of like pulled me into a certain rabbit hole. Okay, because man-made satellites, okay, the one thing they don't do is stop and turn around. They're in orbit. They just same thing. Okay, but when I looked up in the sky, not only did I see tons and tons of flashes, that was not lightning. Okay, I checked every weather. It was a clear night. There was no way. Okay, no storms within hundreds of miles. Perfectly clear night, and I saw something that I thought was a man-made satellite. Okay, I like watching the sky at night, and these days there's more traffic in it than when I was younger. Right, so it stopped pretty much right above me, and I looked and I looked and I looked. I'm like, this has to be an illusion. Like my eyes playing trick. And then it started going back the way it came. And man-made satellites just don't freaking do that. They just don't. So I was intrigued at that point. Like, what the hell am I looking at? Like, am I okay? But then the next night, the same thing happened, just further out. Yeah.
I said to go get your PR.
Shit, is it John? Yeah, alright. Okay. I gotta end stream. I'll come back.